Rob, I don't think we celebrate the champions the way we should. There's the parade, which is great. But a lot of times, Rob, as soon as it's over, we're talking about next year. We're talking about free agency, the draft, whatever it might be.
Well, I could always remember, and it's been like that for a while. I could even remember 2004, the Pistons had barely beaten the Lakers, and it was about who's to blame.
Well, they
who's
won
not
that
coming.
in 5. You mean when they won in the 5?
No, I meant in 2004.
Right. They beat the Lakers in 5. Yeah.
Right, but I'm talking about the year.
You were saying they had barely beat. I thought you meant it was a close series, but
no.
They had
I'm saying
just finished.
They had barely. It was barely over. Right. That's what I meant. Right. Not the closeness of it.
Okay.
And it was all about the Lakers. Oh, who's to blame? Who's coming back? Like that was the story the next day. The next day. There was no coronation and the Pistons had their parade, and the people who are worried about the Pistons, they're not listening to the Lakers stuff. But that was the narrative. And you're right. That's where we go. Right away it's Correa. That's his last game as an Astro. Those are the storylines. Like the game is barely over.
Be back. Right. Absolutely.
And right. You just said it. Dusty. But is Dusty going to get a contract? Well, he didn't win a World Series again. He's always the bridesmaid. You know what I mean? Like all kinds of stories. And it is amazing that not much time is given. But we should celebrate what the Atlanta Braves just accomplished because, Chris, you just said it. They went through the best teams without their best player. It was an incredible run. Milwaukee was better than them, Chris, during the regular year. They were.
I'm going to say this,
the Dodgers
Rob.
were better than them. And so were the Astros.
Right. I don't want to take anything away from the Braves because we're going to celebrate them for these 10 minutes or whatever it is. But you said Milwaukee was better than them during the regular. Everybody was. They had the worst record of all the 10 teams that made the playoffs.
Right.
If we played the playoffs tomorrow, if we started tomorrow, same 10 teams, Rob, I would be willing to guarantee you, bet you, the Braves, and I'm not saying this as a slight on the Braves, I'm saying it's baseball. The Braves wouldn't win.
Nope.
I bet we could do that 10 times in a year. Give the team, do the playoffs, give them a week off, do it again, give them a week off. And out of 10 times, Rob, I bet we'd have
8. 7.
You think 8? I was going to say about 6 champions.
We might, different champions.
But 8, maybe. Maybe 8.
Baseball is very finicky and very weird. We talked about it before. The Braves were in the National League, Chris, the last team to repeat as National League, to win a World Series from the National League. The 1975-76 Cincinnati Reds. Ridiculous. Just think about that. Ridiculous.
Last National League team to repeat?
Yes. The 75-76 Reds, which are the Big Red Machine. The last American League, Chris, it was 20 years ago, the Yankees, in 2000.
I feel like you used to see more repeat. I mean, obviously, you've always said it, and you're right. Back in the day when you didn't have any free agency and there were only
the same team, you just run it back.
Yep. But even, Rob, like when you and I were coming up, I mean, and when we were adults, you would see a repeat more than you do now.
Yeah,
like the 90s, the 80s, the 70s. Yeah, it would happen here and there. Rob G, get us when was the last time a National League team got to the World Series back-to-back? Forget winning it, but just like won and then got back, even if they lost. I'd like to know that.
Well, I want to say the Atlanta Braves won a few times, right?
Yeah, they probably did back when they had
during that run
with
Chris.
with Maddox.
They lost a few World Series.
Yep.
I think they might have been. It might have been the Braves at some point. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else in the National League because the Mets would win and the Dodgers, would get to the World
Here's
Series.
what I want to say, Rob, about the Braves, and I want to give them props. And I said this on TV this morning.
And I got something to say about the city of Atlanta. Go ahead.
Okay. If this were and I don't think people are thinking of this way. If it's this way, I don't know if it's because it's the Braves. They're not, a sexy team like the Dodgers, or even now, they're not historically, but now the Padres, right?
Right.
Or the Yankees, the Cardinals, somebody like that. But Rob, if this season for the Braves was written as a movie script and presented to a producer director, they'd say that's ridiculous. Don't. It's unreal.
It's not believable, even for Hollywood.
Right. Because here's what happened. Midway through the season, they lose one of their top players, Marcell Ozuna, to domestic violence.
Yep.
Right? Or an arrest for domestic violence. Who knows if he'll ever be back. Then they lose their best player, Ronald Acuna Jr., to injury. And when they lost him to injury, and now they're without him and Ozuna, they're under 500. They're 5 games out of first place in the worst division in baseball.
Yep.
The worst, and not just they're not 5 games back, in the NL West. They're 5 games back in the worst division in baseball. And they make, instead of, throwing in the towel, they trade for 4 fairly nondescript outfielders.
Right,
I know Jorge Soler had that great season a couple years ago.
But just 1 year, right. Just
right.
Year.
He was hitting 192 in Kansas City this year.
And he hit 48 home runs, Chris, a couple years ago.
Yeah, that was a heck of a drop-off. They get these 4 nondescript outfielders. Then they make this improbable run, I think have the best record in baseball from that point on. Sneak into the playoffs, even though they won their division. They had the worst record of the 10 teams making the postseason. And Rob, get this. They had the worst record of any World Series winner in a 162-game season.
Ever?
Outside of the Minnesota Twins in 1987.
Wow.
Who won 85 games. So they get to the playoffs, and one of those 4 nondescript outfielders leads them to victory in the NLCS over the sexy, glamorous, awesome loaded LA Dodgers. And then another of those nondescript outfielders leads them to a World Series victory over the most hated team in baseball. And for a week and a half, Rob, 2 weeks, whatever it was, they became America's team because everybody outside of Houston wanted them to beat the Astros. Because the Astros are the cheaters. And so that is what just took place. I don't know if people understand it.
And Chris,
but it was storybook, Rob.
And I'll say this too. If it wasn't for Dusty, the hate and the vile for the Astros would have been times 10. Am I right? Because there were a lot of people. I think it
would have been even more than times 10.
Right.
Yes.
Because there were people who were really pulling for Dusty Baker.
Yep.
He loved Dusty
softened their
Baker.
image. Yes. He softened their image. There's no doubt about it. It's just a great point.
And I want to say this about the Atlanta and what took place. I am stripping the title of calling Atlanta Chokelanta. I know it's only one championship.
Yeah, you sure you want to do that?
I'm stripping Atlanta. Chris, we've seen the meltdowns in all sports in Atlanta over the decades. People in that town don't want to celebrate early, Chris. When they were up 3-1 against the Dodgers, afraid of that. Up 3-1 in the World Series, and then they lost Game 5, afraid of that. And finally, they broke through. And it was no nail-biter last night. Oh, here we go. They choke, and they're going to lose Game 7, and here we go again, and Atlanta is Chokelanta. Atlanta, breathe. You have shed the title as the chokinest city of all time. Atlanta no longer is Chokelanta. It's a new birth in the New South. That team down there where people stopped going to playoff games at one point, Chris, because they could never win.
I told you when they won it in 95.
Right, you know it. But now that place is packed. And people have their chest stuck out in Atlanta, Georgia. They feel like they're proud to be an Atlanta sports fan now. No more paper bags. No more shame. No more walking with your head down. Trying to act like that's not an Atlanta hat, that's Alabama if you're in the airport. Because you don't want people to know you're rocking Atlanta sports gear. Feel proud, Atlanta. You did it. You made this country proud. Not only did you destroy the Houston Astros, those cheating son of a whatever, you also made people down in the South feel proud to be an Atlanta Braves fan and to be from the city of Atlanta. Chokelanta, no more. It's the ATL, and for 10 days in October, Chris, and a little in October, it was Hotlanta. That's
Hotlanta.
what it was.
Fatlanta. That's right. I'm with you, Rob.
With a PHT, fat, P-H-A-T.
P-H-A-T. Fatlanta.
There we go. I'm proud of Atlanta, man. Great. And, of course, on MLBBro.com, I did pick them in 6, so I feel even better.
I mean, look, they won't win another title for 37 years, but hey, for the night we're celebrating